You see, when you imagine someone in your mind, you imagine not only that person from outside, but also from inside. And the voice and poses, punctuations. Now, poses, punctuations, full stops are not only on the page, they are also in our body. So, how when people speak, their body has a full stop. For example, uh, कोई आदमी ऐसे ही बोलता है, अरे ये बात मैं तेरे को बता रहा हूं, सुन ले, सुन लिया कर, कभी सुन लिया कर. Now you see, in this dialogue, I had a body where from full stop punctuation was there. So you see how, you see, there is from page to stage. We have a chapter from page to stage. When we take something from page to stage, then our body becomes the page. And then, for example, our mouth. So we can use our mouth, our vocal cord, our lips, teeth. So the voice will change when we are creating a character. Say, for example, if I touch my upper teeth to the lower lip again and again, then my voice will change. For example, I can't speak English, but I know I can speak French. I have traveled in different parts of the world. Now you see, I when I used my teeth on the lower lip in different manner, then I could deliver this in a different manner. Similarly, for example, if I use my tongue, for example, how many days do you take in reaching Calcutta? How many days do you take in reaching Calcutta? Now I am using my tongue to create this voice. Okay. Similarly, for example, if you use your mouth open, wide open, less open, okay, then you can also change. For example, how many days do you take reaching Calcutta? Now I'm using my mouth like this. So I'm not doing, but I'm manipulating with my speech organs, teeth, lips, vocal cords, and like that. Now what I'm trying to say is that you can differentiate and create that puppet, that mask. Okay. And so if you are the same person while delivering the dialogue, then you are not playing with the character. Okay. But if you have uh, created uh, this string, and now you can hold it, okay, and then you can play with it, so that creates altogether a different idea of the character that you are playing. Yes, this suggestion is that you are speaking very actively, creatively, energy level is good, but poses and punctuations you need to insert. Now, in a theatrical space, your body is your page. Your body is your page, and speech is different from text. So the paper, our paper, text and performance. So you are now performing the text. So your body should think of poses. For example, now I say, your body, think of poses. Poses are like roses. Poses you can sniff. Poses you can smell. Smell the pose that your body can create. You see, now I'm trying to take, poses in my language through my body, giving the gap in the words wherever I need. And so, this is, you see, important that when you are delivering the dialogue, you have to think of these poses, which are body poses. Speech and your body is giving the punctuation, not the page, not the comma on the page, but here the comma is through the body. Okay. So, in terms of time and space, space is your body, time is your language. You see, so when you deliver, try to, for example, you say, the sky, the sky. Now, when you are stretching, the sky is not small, sky is big. The sky over the city, over the city, over the city. So your eyes are moving on the city. You are standing at some, you are a guard, so you have a height, maybe a fort from where you can see the sky, and where you can see the city. The sky over the city is overcrowded. Overcrowded. Now, what emotion do you have? For example, are you is it paining for you? Are you sad? Is overcrowded with vultures, with vultures. So vultures overcrowd the sky. It means there are so many dead bodies lying in that area. So the guard, therefore, here will fill emotions in the pauses of the sentence.
Okay, sir. Of the Corvas is overcast with vultures.
Hide, hide, take cover under your shield. The vultures are ravenous. They feed on the dead.
The stage suddenly brightens.
Look, they are flying towards Kurukshetra.
The sound of beating wing grows fainter.
Death has
There. Indeed, in this very court, Krishna advises you, do not violate the code of honor. If you violate the code of honor, it will coil around the Kaurav clan like a wounded python and crush it like a dry twig.
How could I have discerned the real world or recognized the social codes?
You could have, just as you accepted the world in spite of your blindness.
But I created that world out of the darkest recesses of my own being. My senses were limited by my blindness. They defined the boundary of my material world. I had spun an illusory world of dreams and desires and passions out of the depths of that darkness. My love, my hate were the arbiters of truth for me. My love for them was my law, my code of honor.
Yet, from the very first day, it was obvious that the Kaurav might was weak and vulnerable. Over the past 17 days, you have received news of the death, one by one, of the entire Kaurav clan.
The news did not mean much to me. I was born blind. All I can do is listen. Sanjay describes the world in words. but I still can't visualize anything. Can't see the events his words create. I can't picture how blood spurted from Dushasan's shattered chest, how cruel Bhim collected it in his cupped hands and raised them to his lips. Today, I realized that there is a truth that lies beyond the boundaries of my selfhood. I realized that only today I feel as if a dam suddenly burst, and the violent sea, with its poison tongued waves, has crashed through the defenses of my narrow, well bounded world, filled every corner of my being with its deafening roar, and swept away everything, all my personal beliefs, my blind faiths.
Knowledge acquired through suffering and defeat will give you courage to endure suffering.
No, Vidur, what I have learned today terrifies me. For the first time in my life, I am afraid.
Where there is fear, there is imperfect knowledge. As Krishna said, in order to know the truth, surrender your heart and mind to me. Released from fear, you will find me. You must have faith.
I don't have faith. Perhaps others do. I don't. Surrender your heart and mind to me. Did he lost his head completely? When he was struck by Pitama's arrow, said that. Did he who violated the code of honor over and over again say that?
Calm down, Gandhari, calm down. Do not blame anyone. I was blind.
But I was not blind. I had seen the ways of the world and knew that dharma, duty, and honor were illusions. When the time of recocking arrives, wisdoms and honors are always useless. There is a dark abyss in each of us where a precocious beast, a blind beast, who is the master of all we know and do, resides and has his home. Morality, honor, selfness, and surrender to Krishna are mere disguise, marks that cover our blindness. They are like slightness I cut out of rags and stitches on the faces of puppets. That is why, sick of all is hypocrisy, I choose to live with my eyes blindfolded.
You have become cynical, Gandhari. Grief over the death of your sons has embittered you. Didn't you tell Duryodhan?
I told Duryodhan, O fool, where there is dharma, there is victory. There was no dharma on either side. Each was inspired by blind self interest, and the one you call Lord changed the code of honor to suit his own ends. He is a fraud.
Calm.
This is bitter voice of despair. Forgive her, O Lord. Grief over the death of her sons has made his mother bitter.
Do not call me mother. Even the one you call your Lord, call me mother, a word that prices my soul like a red hot iron. Over the last 17 days, all my sons have been killed one by one. With my own hands, I removed the bangles on the wrists of their wives and wiped the lines of sindoor with the end of my garment.
Voices of stage shout, victory of Duryodhana, victory of Gandhari. May Dhritarashtra is ruler of the men of blessed.
Go, Vidur. See if Sanjay has returned.
He has won. My son Duryodhan has won. Didn't I tell you he would certainly be the victorious today?
Guard one enters.
A mendicant, Maharaj, an old mendicant.
An old mendicant enters.
A mendicant with a broad forehead, white hair, long limbs.
I am that future which today in the city of Corvus has proved to be false. I used to chart the paths of stars to calculate their speed, map their positions, read the destiny of men in the unwritten book of fate. I am an astrologer from the distant land.
I think I remember you. You had said, war is inevitable, and the Kauravas shall be victorious.
Yes, I am that man. Today all my knowledge has proved to be false. Suddenly a man intervened. He was stronger and swifter than the changing constellations. When Arjun stood despondent in the battlefield, he said to Arjun, I am omniscient. Do what I tell you. Truth shall prevail. I am truth. Don't be afraid.
He is the Lord.
No, impossible.
He is the beginning and end of all history. He determines the course of all the celestial stars.
I did not know then that he was the Lord, but that day I suddenly understood, as in a flash of revelation, what when a man surrenders his selfhood and challenges history, he can change the course of stars. The line of fate are not carved in stone. They can be drawn and redrawn at every moment of time by the will of a man.
Guard, give him a handful of coins. You had said Duryodhan shall be victorious.
I am a false prophet, and at this moment my words have no names, half truths lie scattered in every nook and corners of the city of Korvas. It is unfortunate that Gandhari fondly nurtures each one of them.
Godwin returns with a
Victory to
bag of
Duryodhan! Victory to Duryodhan! Victory to Gandhari!
the old mendicant exists.
Victory shall be ours. I am confident. Victory shall be ours. My hopes may be false or blind, but Duryodhan shall be victorious. He shall be victorious.
God too enters and light the lamps.
The sun has set.
But Sanjay has not yet returned. All the soldiers must have gone back to their camps. I want to know who won, who lost.
Maharaj, do not despair. Sanjay shall bring you good news. Gandhari, go and rest now. The city gates, like vigilant eyes, are open and wait for Sanjay's chariot to arrive.
Vidur exits to another side and Dhritarashtra and Gandhari exit to the other. The two guards once again begin to march across the stage.
Honor,
Disbelief.
sorrow at the deaths of one's son.
The future that is waiting to be born.
All these grace the lives of kings.
And the one they worship as their Lord takes responsibility for all of them.
But what about the life the two of us have spent in these desolate corridors?
Who shall take responsibility for us?
We did not violate honor because we did not have any.
We were never tormented by disbelief because we never had any faith,
We never experienced any sorrow.
nor felt any pain.
We spent our desolate lives in these desolate corridors.
Because we were only slaves.
We merely followed the orders of a blind king.
We had no opinions of our own. We made no choices.
That is why, from the beginning, we have placed these desolate corridors from right to left and then from left to right without any meaning, without any purpose.
Even after death, we shall pace the desolate corridors of death's kingdom, from right to left, and then from left to right.
They continue to pass up and down. The stage slowly grows dark.
Under the shadow of defeat, this city has slowly lost its sense of honor.
Under the shadow of defeat and fear and doubt, false hope hobbles down the desolate streets, like a shriveled old beggar pleading with his hands outstretched for some charity, for some mercy.
There are still two fading embers left in the run city, a blind and self-deceiving king, shuffling in the void of his own circle of darkness, and a bewildered, heartbroken Gandhari, still clinging to hope with blind desperation.
And the prophetic Sanjay, immortal and detached, who sees all and knows all, who fears not the wars that God promote, who is free from doubt and confusions, who can dare to confront the king with the truth. Even that Sanjay is enshaded by the dark night of delusion and stands lost on the path of thorns and stones.
All of you can clap. Let the voice of clapping come.